Skulle down for things I didn't want to mistake, but I thought telling ever over ingenuity film, but I didn't see it. June tell Barristan Tony. Donnie don't Donnie Toffel bin Barfund Gelling by Baseridan. Foon tell him, but Foon tell him a son him, don't him. Bali. Twitey Bali. Funny. Hard up, så det gør dollar. If you want just to cut the border, så ständigt. Bare gilde gode, sutte, dutte. But like a down to the belly, I just think I holly. As Demi if do is I do want to eat the gumbo. But the anti-color console. Gumbo? Fan? Oh, stumping ding. Ding. Funny. Hard up, så det gør dollar. If you want just to cut the border, så ständigt. Bare gilde gode, sutte, dutte. But like a down to the belly, I just think I holly. As Demi if do is I do want to eat the gumbo. This is an EDF, but it's a button. LS, I'll get in the all in a down, which is a similar food. He got a smooth the ball in if cool. So belling and up perfect Tim. So big. Färdig instrument. But like gum, but it and tin. Fully his a grunt. A grunt said it. Troop, Palafun. Yes, I know. You want me to play? You want me to play catch with you? Oh, but you have to give me the ball, see? You have the ball that you want me to throw to you. How am I going to throw the ball if you have it in your mouth? Do you see the dilemma we're in? You don't get it, do you? I really don't know why we hang out so much. I'm not going over there. Fine. Really? Little Women, chapter 12, part 5. This is the first part 5 of a long chapter. We'll probably get 2 viewers on this part 5, so welcome 2 viewers. Oh gosh, yes, so Meg looking after the retreating figure with an annoyed expression. Tutors also have a rather hard time of it there, as I know to my sorrow. There's no place like America for us workers, Miss Margaret. And Mr. Brooke looked so contented and cheerful that Meg was ashamed to lament her hard lot. I'm glad I live in it then. I don't like my work, but I get a good deal of satisfaction out of it after all, so I won't complain. I only wish I liked teaching as you do. I think you would if you had Laurie for a pupil. I shall be sorry to lose him next year, said Mr. Brooke, busily punching holes in the turf. Going to college, I suppose? Meg's lip asked the question, but her eyes added, and what becomes of you? Yes, it's high time he went, for he is ready, and as soon as he is off, I shall turn soldier. I am needed. I am glad of that, exclaimed Meg. I should think every young man would want to go, though it is hard for the mothers and sisters who stay at home, she added sorrowfully. I have neither, and very few friends to care whether I live or die, said Mr. Brooke rather bitterly as he absently put the dead rose in the hole he had made and covered it up like a little grave. Laurie and his grandfather would care a great deal, and we should all be very sorry to have any harm happen to you, said Meg heartily. Thank you. That sounds pleasant, began Mr. Brooke, looking cheerful again. But before he could finish his speech, Ned, mounted on the old horse, came lumbering up to display his equestrian skill before the young ladies, and there was no more quiet that day. Don't you love to ride? Asked Grace of Amy as they stood resting after a race round the fields with the others led by Ned. I dote upon it. My sister Meg used to ride when Papa was rich, but we don't keep any horses now except Ellen Tree, added Amy, laughing. Tell me about Ellen Tree. Is it a donkey? Asked Grace curiously. Why, you see, Joe is crazy about horses, and so am I, but we've only got an old side saddle and no horse. Out in our garden is an apple tree that has a nice low branch, so Joe put the saddle on it, fixed some reins on the part that turns up, and we bounce away on Ellen Tree whenever we like. How funny, laughed Grace. I have a pony at home and ride nearly every day in the park with Fred and Kate. It's very nice for my friends go too, and the row is full of ladies and gentlemen. Dear, how charming. I hope I shall go abroad some day. But I'd rather go to Rome than the row, said Amy, who had not the remotest idea what the row was. Nor do I, and wouldn't have asked for the world. Frank, sitting just behind the little girls, heard what they were saying and pushed his crutch away from him with an impatient gesture as he watched the active lads going through all sorts of comical gymnastics. Beth, who was collecting the scattered author cards, looked up and said in her shy yet friendly way, I'm afraid you are tired. Can I do anything for you? Talk to me, please. It's dull sitting by myself, answered Frank, who had evidently been used to being made much of at home. If he had asked her to deliver a Latin oration, it would not have seemed a more impossible task to bashful Beth. But there was no place to run to, no Joe to hide behind now, and the poor boy looked so wistfully at her that she bravely resolved to try. What do you like to talk about? She asked, fumbling over the cards and dropping half as she tried to tie them up. Well, I like to hear about cricket and boating and hunting, said Frank, who had not yet learned to suit his amusements to his strength. My heart, what shall I do? I don't know anything about them, thought Beth, and forgetting the boy's misfortune in her flurry, she said, hoping to make him talk. I never saw any hunting, but I suppose you know all about it. I did once, but I can never hunt again, for I got hurt leaping the confounded 5-barred gate, so there are no more horses and hounds for me, said Frank, with a sigh that made Beth hate herself for her innocent blunder. Your deer are much prettier than our ugly buffaloes, she said, turning to the prairies for help, and feeling glad that she had read one of the boy's books in which Joe delighted. Buffaloes proved soothing and satisfactory, and in her eagerness to amuse another, Meg forgot herself and was quite unconscious of her sister's surprise and delight at the unusual spectacle of Beth talking away to one of the dreadful boys, against whom she had begged protection. Bless her heart, she pities him, so she is good to him, said Joe. No, bless her heart, she pities him, so she is good to him, said Joe, beaming at her from the croquet ground. I always said she was a little saint, added Meg, as if there could be no further doubt of it. I haven't heard Frank laugh so much for ever so long, said Grace to Amy, as they sat discussing dolls and making tea sets out of the acorn cups. My sister Beth is a very fastidious girl when she likes to be, said Amy, well pleased at Beth's success. She meant fascinating, but as Grace didn't know the exact meaning of either word, fastidious sounded well and made a good impression. An impromptu circus, fox and geese, and an amicable game of croquet finished the afternoon. At sunset, the tent was struck, heifers packed, wickets pulled up, boats loaded, and the whole party floated down the river, singing at the tops of their voices. Ned, getting sentimental, warbled a serenade with the pensive refrain, alone, alone, oh, woe, alone. And at the lines, we each are young, we each have a heart, why should we stand thus coldly apart? He looked at Meg with such a lackadaisical expression that she laughed outright and spoiled his song. How can you be so cruel to me? He whispered under the cover of a lively chorus. You've kept close to that star-struck Englishwoman all day, and now you snub me? I didn't mean to, but you looked so funny I really couldn't help it, replied Meg, passing over the first part of his reproach, for it was quite true that she had shunned him, remembering the Moffat party and the talk after it. Ned was offended and turned to Sally for consolation, saying to her rather pettishly, there isn't a bit of a flirt in that girl, is there? Not a particle, but she's a dear, returned Sally, defending her friend even while confessing her shortcomings. She's not a stricken dear anyway, said Ned. She's not a stricken dear anyway, said Ned, trying to be witty and succeeding as well as very young gentlemen usually do. On the lawn, where it had gathered, the little party separated with cordial good nights and goodbyes, for the Vaughans were good we're going to Canada. As the four sisters went home through the garden, Miss Kate looked after them, saying, without the patronizing tone in her voice, in spite of their demonstrative manners, American girls are very nice when one knows them. I quite agree with you, said Mr. Brooke. That was a long party. We got through it, though. I look forward to the next chapter. Goodbye, all. Hello there. So I'm just sitting here on this beautiful Monday, waiting to shoot a scene. And I just heard we got picked up for 2 seasons, which is such a lovely vote of confidence. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone who watches the show. And to Dick Wolf, of course, and our amazing producers and our amazing writers, Rick Ide and his team, and of course our cast and crew. Thank you guys so much for making it a joy to come to work every day. And I'm just feeling very grateful